Well, I just wanted to show everybody that my doggie complied. What a sweet girl she is. That's good Coco right there. That's good Coco. Yeah. What a nice doggie. She's a nice doggie. Well, we'll have opportunity, I'm sure, to talk about karma and transmigration or reincarnation more down the road, but let's just put it this way. Did you hear my doggy? According to, the classic Hindu teaching, Coco probably didn't. Well, I don't actually wouldn't know how Coco behaved, or I mean, you get stuck here pretty quick. Coco is a doggy now. She might have been a human last time around and really flubbed it up. Was really mean to dogs or something and ended up being one. That'd be one way to get your karma. On the other hand, Coco could have been a slug, and then reborn as this beautiful, beautiful half chocolate lab doggy that we treat really well. But the problem that immediately arises is, well, wait a second, if there's really only this singular reality, how can a soul be reincarnated if the real soul, the true soul, is Atman, and Atman is unchanging and singular and the only thing that is, the only reality that is? How can I be here and Coco there and you all out there separate from one another? And what is keeping us from recognizing ultimate reality, Brahman? The term that often is used is one you might have heard before that will enter in right here. It wasn't in your reading, but it's Maya, M-A-Y-A. And Maya is a term employed to talk about appearances. We might call them phenomenal appearances. What appears to be. And if obviously what appears to be is not what truly is. We might wonder, why'd they go to such trouble to try to establish this idea? Why not just go with, things are the way they appear? I think that'd be a great question. I'm surely not equipped to come up with an answer right now. But the basic idea would be, as long as we are trapped with the illusion of phenomenal appearance, Maya, that includes my empirical ego. I know I'm using that phrase quite a bit. It's one I learned in grad school a long time ago, studying this stuff. So the empirical ego, everything we associate with me being me, as long as I do that, I'm inevitably going to look for ways to defend, protect, shore up, build up my sense of ego. And I don't even necessarily mean that yet in an egotistical way, just in the way of, like we might call it survival instinct. I'm this being and I want to survive. But this teaching is that as long as we do that, we are perpetuating this illusion, this Maya state, and we thereby keep our self limited to the experience of the phenomenal world, even in rebirth, right? And that's why if we don't achieve this intuition or direct experience of oneness in this life, we will be reborn. If we had a Hindu person in our midst, she would say, well, yeah, you will be reborn, and hopefully you'll be reborn as a Hindu, because then you're that much closer to, realization of Brahman. Now, it might still take you many lifetimes, even after you've become Hindu. I do think that generally Hindus would have taught. There's probably been some loosening up depending on who you talk to nowadays. But traditionally, it would have been the idea that, unless and until you read, study, practice Vedanta, you're going to be stuck on the wheel of rebirth. And this would be even said to other Hindus who might prefer to worship a deity. We'll talk about that soon enough. So the idea here is that the way that you quit being reborn as whatever would be to achieve an awareness, a deep, profound awareness of oneness and no otherness. And again, that oneness, you can call it Atman, you can call it Brahman, but it is singularity. There is no subject and no object in it. For this tradition, the way that one achieves this will be through intense modes of meditation primarily. Obviously, you need to be taught the philosophy, but no Hindu has ever thought, all you need to do is learn the philosophy, because it's about training one's consciousness through, I'll say again, primarily through meditation. And we'll have to talk about this some. I don't want to try to do this in the video, but rest assured, there's a particular pathway of meditative practice that for Vedantic Hinduism will lead to this, and again I use this word advisedly, lead to this experience of unity. Again, the reason that's weird to say is that usually if you talk about experience, you need an experiencer and something that's experienced. But in this experience, the duality of subject and object is overcome. It is dissolved, erased, disappeared, because it wasn't ever really there to begin with, right? That's the thing. So as long as we're tied up with bodily actions in this world, even good ones, we're still generating karma. And karma is what will sort of dictate where my jiva ends up, my kind of empirical sense of ego ends up the next time around. Now, let me tag this on to what we were saying about the story of Indra, learning all this stuff from Prajapati, and finally at the end going, I don't see what's so great about this. Why would I want to achieve this kind of consciousness where I'm not aware of myself or of anything else? In other words, I kind of like this. And that would be my typical approach too, I would think. I think I would generally say, gee whiz, what's wrong with rebirth? Of course, I've had a pretty good life. I've had a great life. By history's standards, oh my goodness. Let's face it, so have you. Here's the thought that's occurred to me over the years as I've thought about this. As I've thought about the question, why would people desire to get off, and this is the language that's typically used, escape or get off the round or the wheel of rebirth. Well, for one thing, it's a wheel. It just goes round and round and round. It's like that crazy warm-up thing, when you're trying to get online. So I think part of the idea is, if you are schooled in Hindu teaching, from youth up, one of the things that you've come to accept about yourself is that you're here because the jiva, your sense of selfhood, has not yet achieved this awareness of Brahman, oneness. You are under the strong assumption, and probably a very strong conviction, that your soul has undergone countless lives. Okay, you may not remember any of them, although I think there are some Hindu testimonies about remembering previous lives, and of course that's not limited to Hinduism. I myself do not believe in pre-existence lives, but that's beside the point. Here the point is, if you were raised, schooled, trained to think of yourself as having undergone countless lives with potentially countless lives yet to come, and you might not even feel like your life is all that bad. It may feel pretty good. And so maybe you don't want to change that. But at some point, what I'm thinking is, you start to feel tired, okay? You get exhausted. And it's not even because you go like, oh man, I remember all those lives. What you know is that you've been taught, and you've internalized the notion that your soul is exhausted with all this striving for, being this independent self, and, getting all I can and protecting myself and feeding myself and sustaining myself. And you've done this so many times. Aren't you ready to escape all this? And I think that kind of, to me, this is what's fascinating as a possibility, is the connection that potentially lies here between a teaching and one's own experience of what one is and how one feels about that. And that the quest, even if Indra wasn't all that excited about it, that just shows that, it's just a knock at the whole notion of all these deities and separate gods and powers, that even Indra can't quite get his head around it after 101 years. So it may take us a few lifetimes, or many lifetimes, but at some point we go, I am seriously ready. That at least is my supposition about this. All right, well, looking forward to seeing you next Tuesday, and I may read over I'll post another assignment. Thanks a lot.